Hey, Acheron here, with Aventurine. I thought I'd try a new type of video with this patch, a refresher guide video. When a unit gets enough changes and new teammates and relics, they deserve a full video, but what about when units only have a couple changes since my last video? Well, this might be the answer. Today I'll go through all rerun units of patch 2.6 and talk about their current best builds, including main stats and stat goals, and team options. If this video helps you in some way, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment below any video idea you might have for me, because it's going to be a slow patch. Thanks, and let's begin. Rerunning on the first half of 2.6 is Heng Imbibitor Lunae, an imaginary element, basic attack-oriented DPS character. He is all about consuming skill points to enhance his basics to crazy multipliers, and he has some decent self-buffs to boot. Unfortunately, since his release all the way back in 1.3, we haven't got a new Relic 4-piece for him. Though we have had new 2-piece options, we also have new sets that his teammates can run. I'll be making sure to show that in the team section. So for Lunae's relics, we will opt for either a 4 Wastelander set or a 2-piece mix of any damage boosting sets. You can go for 4 Musketeer as well, but 2-piece mixes will beat it out considering we usually don't make use of the speed on Lunae anymore. If you run a 134 speed Lunae and Musketeer's speed helps you get there, then it's the best, but we don't run that. As for 4 Wastelander, this set requires Imprisonment to be at maximum power and debuffs to be at minimum power. Imprisonment is either acquired through having Welt on your team and ulting, or by breaking the enemy with the imaginary element. Though because allies can steal your break and cause a different debuff, this set isn't that consistent. Furthermore, if an enemy has Imprisonment or Crowd Control res, either work, then they have a very high, if not 100% chance to resist this Imprison debuff, even if it's from a weakness break. And finally, this set's cavern is just terrible to farm efficiency-wise from the get-go. That's why these days we just go for a 2-piece mix. The most optimal 2-piece combo will be 2 Scholar, with 2 Pioneer if you have a consistent debuff, otherwise 2 Wastelander. But any attack set will also work just fine, it will all depend on substats and farming efficiency. Since Scholar is not only the best 2-piece for crit DPS, but also paired with Sakados for Lunae's allies, I definitely recommend farming this domain. You want Rutilant Arena as his Planar ornament set, he doesn't have any other close option, but of course Inert South Soto or Spacing Station will work fine. Main stats will see you opting for crit chest, attack percent boots, damage percent orb, and then attack percent rope. His kit can give him up to 72% crit damage at E0, and his best allies give even more crit damage, so crit rate chest is advised. But crit damage is possible with godlike relics or something like his signature or blue sky equipped. For stat goal, aim for around 3k attack, pretty easy with the decent cone and 2 attack main stats. For crit ratio, I'd aim for a crit rate skewed ratio, to something like 90 to 140, with high ratios being possible with a crit light cone. Since he can use 2-piece set mixes, he has much better substat possibilities. Light cones have not changed for him at all since release. His signature is not too far ahead of Eon, with some calculations estimating around 7% and some going a bit over 10%. Tingyun helps bridge the gap between the two with her energy on ult, and newer units with energy like Huohuo will also do the same. For 4-star options you have Blue Sky or Nowhere to Run, that's a Battle Pass cone, and Secret Vow, but that's pretty desperate. Ideally, I would give him Eon. His best free-to-play friendly team remains Tingyun Pella, but he has a new best in slot free-to-play friendly healer with Gallagher. Gallagher's SP generation is beautiful, and him using Quid Pro Quo can help even more with energy on the team. Multiplication also works for even better SP gen. If upgrading his team, I recommend Sparkle as his best in slot Harmony unit. But if you want a more universal Harmony, then Robin would be the way as of recording this video. She is a fantastic support for nearly every DPS, whereas Sparkle can fall off in certain compositions, notably dual DPS ones. His best premium team would be Sparkle alongside either Robin, Mei, or Tingyun, whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you want a sustained upgrade, you can plop in Huohuo, but her SP consumption makes it a bit tricky at times. So you can stick with Gallagher just fine. With E2 Lunae, aura buffs become much more powerful as his turn cycling makes buffs like Sparkle's and Tingyun's fall off so much quicker, so Mei and Robin grow in value here. Finally, Sakados coming out complements Sparkle and Tingyun with their single target Harmony abilities. And Lushaka can help Tingyun, Mei, and Robin, as all 3 can use the 5% ERR very well. Acheron is next up on the reruns, coming to us in a couple weeks. She is a lightning element, ultimate focused DPS character. She wants consistent and frequent debuff application in her teams to supercharge her devastating ultimates. Acheron Aventurine, the third rerun, only recently came out, so there's not too much here, but both units do have new set alternatives as well as new teammates. Acheron's best in slot remains Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters. The set was built for her and fits her debuffing playstyle and teams perfectly. Though Scholar Lost in Erudition is an okay new alternative set if you prefer farming that cavern. It is a DPS loss at equal investment over Pioneer, around 3%, and should get a bit worse in power when pairing Acheron with Harmonies, as the damage percent will get more diluted. For Planars, she hasn't got anything new. Stick to your Izumo or Inert style Soto. Main stats are Crit Chest, Speed or Attack Boots, Attack or Damage Orb, and Attack Rope. You can generally just keep her with Attack Boots and have your debuffers go super fast, like above 160 speed. She will still ult very frequently, but with a whole extra attack main stat worth of damage on top. You'd also run these attack boots if running her with Sparkle. Some teams can still use speed though, like Bronya ones or even Robin ones. So a stat goal will be 3 to 4k attack depending on main stat count. Then an 80 to 160 crit ratio. Of course you can have more, but this is pre-combat. Stuff like Izumo can give more CR, Pioneer will give crit damage to attacks but it won't show up in stats, and stuff like her E1 reduces how much crit rate she needs in the end. For speed, in 99% of cases you go base speed or 134. Her light cone is still insane for her and a must pick up if you really want to invest into her. Nevertheless, a brand new cone came out post-release, Boundless Choreo. It offers crit value instead of the pure damage percent from Good Night Sleep Well. It is pretty much on par with said light cone though, so it's just an alternative if you couldn't get S5 Good Night. Her best free-to-play friendly team will be Gwynaifen Pella Gallagher. Seeing a trend with Pella Gallagher, huh? Upgrading Gwynaifen will be your best bet, and this can even be a 5-star harmony at this point because of how strong they are comparatively. So a Sparkle, Robin again can fit here. But if you want to go all in on Acheron, I recommend DHIL as her best in slot support. He brings some amazing debuff consistency on top of just really nice damage amp anyways, and he can make her really viable in pure fiction, which is her usual weakness otherwise. So a somewhat premium team would be Acheron, DHIL Pella. You can even go one step further and go for DHIL Robin, which is a really powerful E0 and E2 team for Acheron. DHIL's debuff frequency combined and reinforced with Robin's advance forward makes Acheron ult so many times on top of having amazing damage increases with both of these powerful supports. Sparkle is also a great partner, and at E2 Acheron even better. He also makes good use of the new Sakador set as said earlier. Acheron finally has some new cool meme teams too, like Boothill Acheron paired with Ron May, and even stuff like Facial with Topaz Light Cone. You should stick to the teams discussed before, but I thought I'd include these for people that want to try fun comps and have a lot of different units. Finally, Aventurine time. He is an imaginary element shielder that has some sub-DPS capabilities. He is pretty great for many teams, but excels in follow-up teams and fights with lots of attacks, like Lunae in MOC or any pure fiction stage. We can go two main build paths for him, full sustain or sub-DPS. Hybrid between the two is also possible. Sub-DPS is a possibility when you have his S1 or you're just cool like that, but you sacrifice a lot of shielding power for not all that much extra damage when compared to a main DPS. Full sustain still boasts a decent amount of damage whilst being much safer in runs. Either way, the choice is yours, and I personally run mine on a hybrid build. If you want him to sustain as best as possible, run 4 Knight with 2 Keel. 4 Knight is a pretty rough cavern to farm these days, so you can go for 2 speed 2 def, or even 2 speed 2 speed if you prefer that. For Planars, Keel not only supports multiple DPS including himself, but it also gives him F-res to help get to the nice goal of 50%. 2 Lushaka is also a brand new and fine alternative these days, but he doesn't utilize the 5% energy in any standard rotation. But maybe it'll help in a lucky scenario. Keel is still a great farm efficiency-wise, and I recommend just going for that, especially since he excels in some dual DPS teams anyways. On main stats go Def Chest, Speed Boots, Def Orb, and Def Rope. Aim for at least 4k Def, but you can go as high as possible, and also aim for 50% F-res. A bunch of speed is also nice to keep up with your team. A more sub-DPS build would be swapping Relics to 4 Pioneer, but this is why I talk about Aventurine's S1, since that or his E2 are the only reliable ways to maximize this set. You can also go for a mix of 2-piece DPS combos. And for planers for this damage build, the newer Duran set is his best in slot if running with Volop DPS. So despite his sustain build not getting a real upgrade, his damage build does get one. If building for damage, then you can go crit chest over def, but the difference isn't that large, and you lose a lot of shield health. Likewise with damage orb, which I really don't like. Either way, you'd only swap out main stats after achieving his 4k def goal. Speaking of those, for damage, still get to at least 4k def, and the 50% FRIS is now optional, even if I recommend always going for it. Dropping it allows for this high crit though. You can go for like 22% crit rate and 140% crit damage for a decent goal, but I've seen Aventurines with Signature go to crazy heights. Like in 2.1, his Light Cone is a luxury upgrade and not really necessary. It can enable him to run much more effectively in ratio or Acheron team compositions, but if running him with newer GPS like March 7th Hunt, Yun Li, Fei Xiao, it isn't as highly valued. And in Acheron comps, the Trend Light Cone is very potent too, and can even apply more frequent debuffs than his signature. Moment of Victory remains an insane option despite being standard, as the aggro and defense are amazing for him. Finally, Concert for 2, Day 1 of my new life, Destiny's Threads for Woven are great generalist 4-star cones. New teams since 2.1 include like a ton of Robin teams, but we know that already. Basically, if you don't know, Aventurine's consistent follow-ups enable Robin's damage and energy, whilst also enabling teammates to do the same. For other new additions, Aventurine is usually the premier sustain for the new March 7th Hunt in her crit build, as well as Fei Xiao, one of our best DPS right now. He's also still fantastic for ratio or Acheron team compositions, that hasn't changed since release. Jade and Yun Li are new DPS that also make great use of him, Yun Li ideally with her S1. Cool, so I hope this video helped refresh a few guides with new sets, teammates, and new insights post-unit releases. Again, if a character has enough new stuff, I'll probably release a full video, but I don't think you guys need to watch through a full video just to know that Aventurine can run one new planar set, right? The other information hasn't changed. Anyways, thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a Guoba day.